Spider-Man 2, an extremely top-tier superhero movie and also an extremely top-tier superhero game that I can call my favorite Spider-Man game, as its gameplay has still aged amazingly and even stayed dominant in many aspects beyond the amazing, fastest skill requiring swinging speed. But we also have the original story aspects, which I'll be focusing on as it adds beyond the movie itself. An amazing love triangle with a character that gets introduced. This game's adaptation, a black cat. Let's get into it.
This is my story. It's the usual thing. Boy meets girl, boy loses girl, boy meets another girl. Oh, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Don't think my life is all flowers and romance, though. I wish. More and more my life is spent out here, fighting some of the worst the city has to offer. Sometimes it's just a mugger, sometimes it's a bigger problem. This is the city I protect, New York City. It's my home, my playground, my responsibility.
This intro that re-emphasizes his responsibilities is necessary for the context of this story. And you might have missed Black Cat showing up in the intro on top of one of the buildings that they end up sharing a scene on top of later. But anyway, as most of us know, Peter has responsibilities that often gets in his way of life pleasures such as love, as can be seen by the second part of this intro.
And this is Mary Jane, the girl next door, the girl I love. But love is a tricky thing when you live part of your life behind a mask. Fate handed me amazing powers, and I made a promise to use those powers to help people. With great power comes great responsibility. No matter how much I might wish things were different, there's only one Spider-Man.
In the first 40 or so minutes of the game, we get even more examples of these responsibilities tearing into the social aspects of his life, as we get the usual event of Spider-Man being late to his various meetings, such as classes, or hanging out with Mary Jane and Harry Osborn. But it all leads to even worse consequences when Peter shows up late yet again, only for MJ to tell him that she's moving on with someone else, which of course makes Peter not feel too good.
Sorry, I'm running a little late, MJ.
I've gotten used to it.
It was great seeing you and Harry again the other night.
Yeah. Anyway, I brought you the ticket for my play. Peter, I think you should know. I'm seeing someone now. A guy.
Oh. Really? Huh. Really?
Is that all you have to say?
Oh my gosh. I have to go.
Of course you do.
I'm really sorry, MJ. I really want to talk more. I'll call you.
Yeah. Sure.
I can't believe I ran off like that. I must be out of my mind.
And even in that moment of sadness, his responsibilities come kicking in yet again as he sees a bank robbery and ends up leaving MJ out of nowhere. But anyway, after an amazing brawl in some art museum where Spider-Man knocks out the thugs in a way that resembles the creation of Adam, we finally get our introduction to this game's unique contribution to the plot of Spider-Man 2, as mysterious music kicks in.
This may not be art, but I like it. Who?
You got nice moves for a dork in tights.
Are these yours?
Please.
Wait!
I also have to add that the in-game cinematography is pretty solid. I really like this one shot of her looking down upon Spider-Man that sorta signifies that she has him under her, seductive crosshairs, especially due to the fact that Black Cat revealed herself on purpose. But anyway, this introduces a character's playful yet competent characteristics on top of putting the player's swinging skills to the test, as you can't let Black Cat get too far away or you lose.
Hey! Slow down so I can talk to you.
What, slow down? Yeah, right. If you can't keep up, go home. Shouldn't you be helping some old lady across the street or something?
Nah, I already got that merit badge.
You always chase girls who brush you off?
No, only the naughty ones. I have standards after all.
Standard is the word. And here I was expecting amazing.
Hey! Yep, got away with the ladies, Spidey. Mr. Smooth. What was with that girl? Who was she? That girl was pretty incredible. Too bad she's probably a crook.
Black Cat gets away and comes in and out throughout the game at various moments between other missions like Rhino, Mysterio, and of course our main villain Doc Ock. Fun fact, Lizard, Kraven, and Calypso were scrapped content due to time. The game is great as is, but it could have been even greater. But anyway, she reappears later as it seems she's just robbed a jewelry store.
Uh-oh. Guess I'd better check out that alarm. I'd know that silhouette anywhere. I'd better catch her.
With her second chase sequence and onward, it gets harder, but gameplay aside, she seems to be taking more of an interest in Spider-Man, as can be heard with more flirtatious lines than her prior scene.
Nice night for a little swing through the city, isn't it?
I don't get you. Last time you were an ice queen, but now you're friendly. Make up your mind.
It's called a woman's prerogative. It's in the rule book. Look it up. You know, I like a guy who can go the distance.
Uh-huh. Flattery will get you nowhere with me.
As the chase scene ends and the mysterious yet slightly changed soundtrack plays once again, these dynamics get doubled down on via the subtleties of her dialogue and a stare down.
Not bad. I actually had to push myself this time.
Hand over those jewels you took.
Jewels?
I saw you leaving that jewelry store. You know, the one with the alarm blasting.
I don't have any jewels.
Wait, what's your name?
Me? I'm Black Cat. And I just crossed your path. Now, if you'll excuse me.
Whoa.
When she makes a funny cat pun, I just crossed your path, it was more than just a little joke. This was her subtle statement that she's now interested in Spider-Man, and believe me, from experience when I say that girls being into you will rarely be delivered anywhere close to bluntly. But anyway, it's quite interesting how feminine charm can alter a man's perception. It would seem she probably stole the jewels from Spider-Man's perspective, as I once believed, and Spider-Man asked that she give back those jewels she took, to which she denies having any. And then Spider-Man doesn't doubt her any further, which I found off originally. But perhaps he was taking a gaze, or perhaps she was somehow telling the truth despite it looking clear as day that she stole it. I think she just knew Spider-Man was in the area and purposely tripped the alarm to get his attention. She also has a skin-tight suit and doesn't have diamonds in her hands, which means that she probably doesn't have it, unless she has pockets in her little fur sleeves or put them somewhere else. But anyway, as the gameplay would have it, we were swinging around the area and then the alarm just so happened to go off around the same time and place where Spider-Man is. And then Black Cat just so happens to unstealthily decide to walk slowly near the edge of the ringing building, and if we ultra zoom in, we can see her slightly turn her head as if she looked at Spider-Man with the corner of her eye. Black Cat has shown herself to be way more sneaky than this in her first scene, where the first chase only happened when she called for Spider-Man's attention. But anyway, she just so happens to go from walking to instantly booking it as soon as Spider-Man gets up that building. I may be digging really deep with the subtle moment that most people probably didn't think about too much, but I think she caused all of this to get a second date and to put Spider-Man to the test, hence these lines.
Not bad. I actually had to push myself this time.
After this encounter, Spider-Man himself now becomes interested and has to catch himself, despite the fact that he's still pursuing Mary Jane.
Black Cat, huh? Black Cat seems okay. Maybe a little bit of an attitude, though. I wonder if there's a Mr. Black Cat. Ugh, what am I thinking?
But speaking of MJ, Peter is almost late for yet another event of Mary Jane's and gets thrown off from being on time for it due to his responsibilities yet again. Peter is too late to make it in time for the play, but on top of that, he now sees the guy Mary Jane is moving on with, similar to the events of the actual movie.
John Jameson, what are you doing here?
Well, there's this beautiful girl in the cast.
Did she say Jameson? Someone shoot me now.
Peter isn't feeling too good about it once again, but then we get yet another appearance from Our Lady in Black as this low-key love triangle begins.
Stalking girls now? Well, that's pretty pathetic, don't you think? Or is she on your naughty list too?
Not exactly. What do you care anyway?
No reason. Just dropping by to say hi. By the way, remember those guys you beat up the other day in the art gallery?
I remember.
Well, it turns out there's a whole ring of them. I just happened to find their hideout the other day. I could show you. If you can take a break from the peeping Tom routine, that is.
Sure. I really wasn't spying, you know.
As you guys just saw, Black Cat doubles down on her interest in Spider-Man and comes in clutch with a method of taking his mind off of things. Midway through her swinging mission, where you have to follow her once again, Spider-Man stops her to ask her why she's doing all of this.
I'm glad you decided to come. I think we got off on the wrong foot.
What made you come get me?
Isn't that what you do?
Well, yeah, but
Hey, I can be nice. I don't always bite. Unless you want me to. Come on now. Don't fall behind.
You see, these subtle lines of hers are really interesting if you start digging. Spider-Man is of course a superhero, but he's also a person that puts his life, love, and pleasures on the line for the sake of others. And it's caused him a lot of loss, like time with friends, family, and his relationship with MJ. He may be so used to helping others that he doesn't really expect to get it in return. And Black Cat, of course, knows what he does, hence her line.
Isn't that what you do?
Keep the plot of the movies in mind, as Spider-Man of course is losing MJ at this point, and his friendship with Harry is getting shaky, along with a slew of other life problems that his responsibilities get in the way of, such as school and work, something that a lot of people can relate to. So when some feminine person comes to make you feel better about all those things, you feel better. But anyway, we go forward with lines that start to double down on these comforting themes.
oh, nice night, huh?
No need to be nervous. There they are, as advertised.
Get the rest of this stuff in the truck. We gotta get out of here before Spider-Man shows up.
Nice sculpture.
We get our first exposure to Black Cat's competence as a fighter as she assists you in taking out the criminal she mentioned. Peter seems like he enjoyed actually having help for once, until he realized he was trolled, as was foreshadowed when Black Cat was eyeballing the idol.
Hey, is that a Van Gogh? Make you look. You know, we actually make a pretty good team. Cat? She took that statue. I must have sucker tattooed on my forehead.
It's funny to think about these hilarious feminine charms in this instance due to Peter getting so comfortable with Black Cat that he let his guard down.
Cat took that statue right in front of me. Why wasn't I watching her? I knew Cat was a thief. I can't believe Cat did that.
But anyway, like the movie once again, Peter also ends up seeing the announcement of Mary Jane's marriage to John Jameson, and once again, this doesn't make Spider-Man feel too good. This is yet another moment where Black Cat chimes in to make observations before laying down the seeds of what she wants Spider-Man to do.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased to introduce you all to Miss Mary Jane Watson. Mary Jane has just agreed to marry me, and I couldn't wait to share my happiness with everyone.
So what's the hunk's superpower?
He threw a football on the moon.
Uh-huh. Red is easily impressed, isn't she?
She ends up slightly psychoanalyzing Mary Jane and actually ends up nailing the behaviors of Mary Jane by calling her easily impressed. Which is actually sort of spot on given that it's been a trilogy trait of MJ to rush into relationships such as Flash Thompson, who she got with to impress her dad apparently, or John Jameson, who she never really loved more than Peter, and sorta just got with him to fill a void, as can be seen in a scene from the extended cut.
You told him yes? Just that fast?
It felt right. Well, you might congratulate me.
Congratulations. Good luck in the world.
John loves me. My father always said, you'll never be worth anything. No man will ever want you.
So what, you're gonna spend the rest of your life trying to prove something to your father? Do you really love this guy?
You read too many love stories.
Okay, what about that perfect kiss you said you had once? The guy you believed in?
That was a fantasy. That's all he is.
But what's wrong with believing in love stories?
But anyway, Black Cat starts making more subtle verbal advances with the word speed, funny enough, given what most of her gameplay segments are. She clears up the beef of her stealing the statue and states she gave it to the authorities. Comment if you think she's lying about this or the jewels. But anyway, she starts laying down the seeds for what she wants him to do, what she wants him to abandon.
Shouldn't you try to find somebody more your speed?
Just what I needed. Love advice from a thief.
Are you still sore about that statue? I gave it to the cops already. I was just having some fun with you. You look kind of cute, trying to figure out what happened back at that warehouse. Anyway, my original point was, why are you still bothering with a normal girl? Normal is boring.
Normal is half my life. At least it's supposed to be.
Why? I mean, seriously. Why settle for being some schmo when you can be a superstar?
Well,
It's interesting how one can perceive her advice as something that may set Peter backwards due to stardom being the selfish trait he used his powers for originally before tragedy struck and turned him into the responsible hero that he is today, as he thought it was his fault Uncle Ben died as he let a thug go free after that thug robbed the wrestling manager who didn't pay Peter. Of course, Peter would later find out it was Flint Marko who killed Uncle Ben, but the thought is what counted. And the obvious moral of the story and the quote, "with great power comes great responsibility," being that you do the right thing in instances that you clearly could have done something. People like to call this quote corny or they ignore it, when it's a very crucial life lesson that makes the world worse when most loathsome humans don't listen to it, as they go out of their way to do the opposite and deliberately do bad things whenever they can, whether it benefits them or not. And even Spider-Man YouTubers, some of which I've encountered, do this shit, which is quite ironic.
no! You! Not you!
Stay back! I'm warning you, you psycho!
I could have stopped you at the fight promoter's office. I could have saved Uncle Ben.
But anyway, Black Cat strategically dips out of this conversation, seeing that it's not going where she wants it to quite yet, so she comes through with her suggestions of crime fighting to get things off of Spider-Man's mind.
Forget it. I was gonna tell you about Shocker, but you're obviously busy sulking.
Shocker? What about him?
Oh, just that he broke out of prison a little while back and he's back in the city. I was gonna show you where he's hiding out, but...
Show me.
That's the spirit? Trust me, kicking his heavily padded butt will make you feel better.
Yeah, you're probably right. Let's go.
We get through yet another segment where you follow Black Cat throughout the city before arriving at Shocker's location for a boss fight.
Spider-Man! I don't know how you found me, but there's no way you're getting me this time.
Hey, Shocker. You look different somehow. Have you been reupholstered?
Still a comedian, huh?
Come on, Spider. Let's take this guy out.
But with the interesting twist of working with Black Cat. I won't go too in depth with the gameplay of this, but the gameplay is indeed solid, as Shocker is an interesting boss fight that encourages a gambling, risky-esque playstyle of getting enough hits in as he charges a large orb radius shockwave that you would have to retreat from before it goes off, as the damage is really high. Black Cat assists you in the fight by taking out a few of Shocker's henchmen for you. But anyway, after Shocker is almost about to lose, he pretends to charge up a blast against Spidey, only to fake it and fire at Black Cat instead, so he can make his escape as Peter attends to Black Cat.
Cat!
There's some interesting combat trainer observations I've heard of which causes militaries to be less likely to enlist women, that observation being how men are more likely to stop whatever they're doing when ladies are in danger, which therefore can affect a soldier's performance on the battleground via causing them to take what could be called detrimental actions, such as letting the Shocker get away. It's sort of a big brain tactic that the Shocker deliberately used to get away. But anyway, Black Cat, who is clearly hurt, downplays it for the reasons I would speculate, like her not wanting to look too weak, given her tough nature in combination with not wanting to appear to be a burdening worry on Spider-Man, given that it was her goal to make him feel better via this fun night of crime fighting to get his mind off of MJ.
You okay?
Oh, yeah. He just caught me off guard. I'll be ready for him next time. Listen, I gotta get going. I have some things I need to do. See ya.
I find the way she delivers her last few lines really subtly sell that she feels bad about this little mess up of hers, as she makes an exit so that Spider-Man doesn't have to see her put an ice pack on her back later. She said she has things to do, but I don't really think that's true, as we can likely speculate that the only significant thing she could be doing is stealing, which is what the character is known for.
I hope Cat is okay. I'll have to check on Cat later.
Our next Black Cat scene requires some context from the Mysterio storyline. Mysterio has blown his budget due to his past grandiose actions against Spider-Man, and now has resorted to robbing a convenience store. Spider-Man beats up Mysterio in this amazing, hard-fought, difficult boss fight, and then webs him up and takes a photo of it for the Daily Bugle. Jameson's response, on the other hand, is also quite hilarious.
So, Beck and Spider-Man were in cahoots all along.
How can you look at those pictures and say that?
I don't have time for your moral outrage, Parker. I'm trying to run a paper here and make sure my son's wedding to Jean Marie doesn't bankrupt me.
Her name is Mary Jane.
Yeah, right. I'll give you $200 for the lot. You can collect your money on your way out.
As you just saw, Jameson pulled a CNN or Fox propaganda move and 180'd the truth to somehow blame this on Spider-Man due to his biases and maybe to make more money for his son's marriage to Jean Marie, as Jameson puts it. Similar to the events of the movie once again, Peter is being emotionally attacked on multiple fronts. Not only did he just get reminded of Mary Jane's marriage, but he also gets an additional dig of the fact that her possible stepdad, Jameson, couldn't even be bothered to remember her name. This is all the Peter half though, as this is also an inconvenience for Spider-Man, as you'll see.
What did I ever do to Jameson? What could he possibly have against me?
Help me! Someone help me!
Need a hand?
Don't hurt me!
I'm trying to help. I'm so sick of everyone hating me. I'm going to go give the Bugle's esteemed publisher a piece of my mind. He's messed up my reputation long enough.
Hey, where's the fire?
I don't have time to talk. I need to have a word with the publisher of the Daily Bugle.
Whoa there, mighty one. Take a deep breath.
That paper has turned half the city against me. I'm sick and tired of it.
Women's intuition and ability to read emotions and social dynamics of the room better than most men can be quite interesting, as Black Cat figured out his state of mind in 2 seconds on a person who wears a skin-tight costume and doesn't show his face at all. But anyway, what unfolds here is very interesting in terms of the concept of stopping rage. There's many instances in fiction or reality itself where a man is about to have an angry outburst or fight after a boiling point and conflict just seems inevitable. But it's in those moments where I think only a lady stepping in could possibly put a stop to 2 men who are about to fight, because God knows that another dude stepping in is less likely to work.
Well, I'm sure that bursting into the Bugle offices and yelling will clear everything up. All I'm saying is, you may want to calm down.
Those moments of anger can keep you blinded to the good things in your life that are going on, or the consequences that anger can bring, as Black Cat delves into while playing off of her prior topic of him being better than normal people.
You seriously need to loosen up. Have more fun. You're a superhero. You swing through New York City in brightly colored tights.
I like my costume.
The point is, here you are. Powers far beyond those of mortal men. And you're pouting on a rooftop. What's up with that?
I guess you're right. What did you have in mind?
Well, I did find Shocker again. And I am dying for some payback.
Sounds good.
All right. Showtime, baby.
Anyway, we get another chase sequence as Black Cat has luckily stumbled upon the chance for payback on Shocker. This chase sequence shakes it up a little with combat mixed in via Shocker minions stationed on rooftops. The dialogue adds a bit of charm to their dynamic as Black Cat lets Spider-Man take it upon himself to deal with them himself.
Surprised that you found Shocker again. Thought he would be smart enough to lay low for a while.
Well, finding out where he is wasn't easy, but I can be very persuasive when I want.
Not bad.
Hey! Looks like someone shot you. You should probably use some stuff.
Yep, I'm on it.
Last monthly break.
Nice job. Those guys are history.
No sweat.
Spider-Man dealing with those criminals for her by himself sort of gives elementary school vibes of when you take multiple chairs when putting them away to impress a crush. But anyway, we get yet another boss fight against Shocker, except he's working with a shield this time, as he deliberately let his location be leaked so that he could take out both of them with his new technology.
About time you losers got here. I must have told every lowlife in New York where to find me.
A trap?
Don't take it too hard, Cat. Shocker's a crafty one. No? Wait, I'm thinking of someone else.
Get ready. Here comes the pain.
I hate it when he says that.
You ain't
Spider,
got what it takes
keep him
to hurt
busy.
me.
I'm gonna find some way to shut down that force field.
This boss fight forces more altruism between Black Cat and Spider-Man, as Spider-Man has to dodge Shocker's attacks while Black Cat figures out how to take down the shield via them both pressing a button on 2 separate high-up control panels. We of course get some more fun Black Cat lines that really play on her thrills and altruism in this boss fight.
I was right! Look at that shield go down. Let's go teach Shocker a lesson. Right, Spider?
Careful, Cat. He's still dangerous.
This guy gave you trouble, Spider?
Yeah, well, I was young.
That shield is really getting on my nerves. I'm gonna figure out a way to shut it down for good. That should do it. The controls are so scrambled, that shield should never go up again.
Shocker is still a boring game. What about Jackohammer?
But anyway, the fight ends and Black Cat proceeds to lay more seeds in by encouraging Spider-Man to swing by her more often when he's feeling down. It's interesting how subtle she is with these tactics in tandem with her body language if you weren't picking up on her blunt, slightly suggestive body language thus far.
Was that as good for you as it was for me?
I have to admit, you were right. I feel much better.
You see? I told you, baby. Stick with me and you'll be fine. Come see me next time you're feeling down, all right? I'll see you around.
She's pretty amazing, don't you think, Shock?
I think my career has just hit a new low.
Who cares what you think?
As this other Spider-Man 2 retrospective video has said, I heard the devs originally went too far with her more flirtatious animations and were told by higher-ups to tone it down. I'm really curious as to how far they were going with things originally, but at least they didn't deliberately turn her face into something resembling a 40-plus-year-old. But anyway, Peter is late to yet another play of Mary Jane's, but is in time to be able to save her from a bunch of thugs, luckily.
I can't believe I missed it again.
Good night, guys. See y'all tomorrow.
What's up, girlie? Give me your money.
Leave me alone!
After taking out the thugs, Spider-Man and Mary Jane talk a little after this, and the exchange is quite interesting, as it seems to double on the fact that Mary Jane is only moving on from Peter to John, due to John Jameson actually being there for her place, and not because she actually likes him as much as she would love Peter. These vibes are just there with the way it's voiced too.
You okay?
Yeah. Great timing. What are you doing here?
You know me, always hanging around.
I'm getting married. I don't know if you heard.
Oh, really? What's he like?
He's there. He loves me, and he's there.
I see. I have to get back to my patrol. See you around.
Yeah, next time a bunch of thugs try to jump me.
It's a date. Why can't I just tell MJ the truth? I can't believe she's getting married and I'm just waving from the sidelines. Was I supposed to meet Kat this evening? I guess I should go.
In our next Black Cat scene, we finally hit the point where all of Black Cat's little hints, seeds, and little suggestions fully come to the surface. She also tends to take Spider-Man being late as less of a big deal. Of course, Black Cat knows Spider-Man is a superhero, and that's why he's late. And sure, MJ sorta knew and suspected that as well, and I know a bunch of moronic critics like to call MJ a bitch for knowing Peter was Spider-Man and giving Peter flack, but MJ obviously wanted Peter to value her enough to tell her the full truth.
Hey, what took you so long?
Running late seems to be part of my idiom.
You work too hard. Ditch the mild-mannered civilian routine. This life is so much more fun. Look at me. Sure, I can play hero if I want. But if I don't feel like it, give it a try. Take the weight of the world off your shoulders.
You don't understand. You don't know why I do this.
What? Parents got killed by a mugger? Abducted by aliens? Sold you to the circus? It doesn't matter. Whatever the reasons, you can't change the past. What's done is done. You have to live for the present.
Hippie.
All right, fine. Don't cheer up. All I'm saying is, you're gonna get an ulcer or something.
Now those lines were quite interesting and blunt with quotes like, "Take the weight of the world off your shoulders." She's sort of trying to pry Spider-Man off of his hero path. Sure, Black Cat plays hero too, but being a hero isn't just doing the right thing when you feel like it. It's about doing it whenever the injustice arises. Sure, Black Cat was able to guess that Peter's drive came from a loss of a loved one, but she still doesn't understand the moral obligation. Of course, there's some truth in the past being nothing but the past and living for the present, but those past lessons matter in everything you do today. No different from touching the stove as a child and never touching it again because of what happened in the past. I find this slight clash of moral compasses to be quite interesting. To be brutally honest, I generally don't think ladies can really relate or understand this role of sacrificing your happiness for the greater good, with some exceptions like having to tolerate some kid's temper tantrum or some crappy skibbity toilet videos on their iPads, etc. But anyway, with them not understanding these things, it becomes quite easy of them to try and convince others to do otherwise. Black Cat seemed to give it more of her all that time in trying to convince him, but Spider-Man doesn't budge as this conversation ends and we get the finale of these engagements with one last chase. But this time, you don't really chase her, it's a race.
I suppose, as usual, that you have the perfect thing to take my mind off my problems.
Now that you mention it, there is a little something I know about. You know that warehouse on the west side near the convention center? Something big is going down. I'll race you there.
All right, Moonbeam, you're on. Let's go.
Now, before we get to the last quarter of story moments, I'll talk about swinging gameplay one last time, as this is their last swinging segment. Your swinging skills have been tested throughout all of these races in this Spider-Man game that actually has the skill ceiling in its swinging, unlike the Insomniac games that may look cool and cinematic, but they don't really have a skill ceiling at all apart from some optional no swing assist setting that nobody uses, as it makes your swinging speed slower than what was already slower than this game. When I replayed the original Spider-Man 2 2004 for the sake of this video, I actually got close to failing one of the races. And that's me as an experienced player. And don't even get me started on the challenge mode races in the city. Those are so hard that I may not be able to even beat them. But with Insomniac on the other hand, nobody is failing a chase with Black Cat in those Insomniac games, as opposed to this game that actually tests you, such as this race segment and the last level where you can actually lose the race against Black Cat. And not just lose as in having to do a restart, I mean losing via a cutscene of her winning, as the level progresses anyway and forces you to live with your shame and humiliation unless you backed up your save file and had the will to replay a significant chunk of the game just to try again.
This is supposed to be a race. You should at least try to compete.
I figured you needed a head start.
Oh no, the building!
What's
Okay.
the matter, Spider? Too fast for you?
Dang, I'm stuck. Get off the wall. Okay. Spider leap.
Move
No.
that cute little butt of yours. You don't want to miss this.
No!
I'm just getting warmed up.
Oh, another stunning win for Black Cat.
Not that you're bragging or anything, right?
All right, let's get going.
Damn, that was embarrassing. I won. The game just didn't let me stay on the freaking roof.
Shout out to Night Edge 22 for the hilarious commentary gameplay of the alternate race ending, and shout out to Long Play Legends for the HD emulation gameplay I could not get on my Xbox 360. Utilize your ownership of Activision Xbox and make it backwards compatible, please. But yeah, links will be near the top of the description. But anyway, in case you didn't notice, her soundtrack really goes hand in hand with nailing those mysterious yet thrill-seeking themes. Like that moment where you're swinging under the bridge in a fast straight line, since you don't have to worry about hitting the left or right of a building. As you may have picked up on via Night Edge's gameplay, your performance is also recognized by Black Cat, whether you're too far behind, or right on her tail, or even ahead of her in the race.
Come on, Slowpoke. If you lose, Shocker, I'll never forgive you.
Okay, I'm coming.
Back off, you're crowding me.
You used to be fast, Cat. What happened?
I'm just giving you a handicap, Spider.
Cat. Weren't we gonna race?
You're a funny guy, Spider. Real funny. All right, let's get going.
But anyway, with swinging gameplay out of the way, we get to our last few scenes where conflict finally starts between Spider-Man's responsibilities and Black Cat's carefree thrill-seeking.
Supposedly, whatever they're selling is a pretty big deal.
All right, people, you all know why you're here. Let's start the bidding.
I'll bid a shiny nickel and a kick in the head.
Waste them!
As you just saw, Black Cat threw away the element of surprise against multiple gunmen and machine gun missile launching mechs. And from a gameplay perspective, I can understand Spider-Man's frustration. Like the gameplay I downloaded even shows Long Play Legends only winning with less than 10% of his health left. I'm pretty sure every person who played this died in their first try or more. Peter confronts her on everything I just explained prior.
What were you doing? We had the drop on them.
It was more fun my way.
That's totally irresponsible.
What are you so upset about? We won! Well, excuse me for trying to get you to enjoy yourself. For once.
Black Cat being sloppy with crime fighting is likely due to that not really being her thing as a thief. An older Shocker line of her not really paying attention also subtly conveys this.
Whoa, this is an old Oscorp research lab. Shock's moving up in the world.
Yeah, some kind of space propulsion thing. I wasn't really paying attention.
But anyway, all of Black Cat's ideas and concepts that she's been sprinkling onto Spider-Man in every scene of hers really has Peter rethinking how he carries himself in life. This is probably one of the biggest moments of self-reflection Spider-Man has had in the Raimi gaming trilogy.
Is Cat right? Am I just torturing myself? Do I really have to give up Peter Parker to be Spider-Man? What about the people in my life? How would they feel? It isn't like anyone ever sees me now. MJ, Harry, Aunt May. No matter how hard it is, I can't abandon my friends. So, what? Do I quit being Spider-Man? No, I can't quit either. I help so many people. I can't give up being Peter Parker, but I can't give up being Spider-Man either. Maybe I can balance the two. I should track down Black Cat. I need to have a talk with her.
As you just heard, Peter severely questioned everything about himself because of her. He questioned dropping Spider-Man or dropping Peter Parker. Now I want you to take a deep dive into the Raimiverse past to see this big, green, double standard. The Green Goblin. I'll try to keep it brief, but one of the Green Goblin's main motivations was to get Spider-Man to take the weight of the world off of his shoulders so that he can do whatever he wants with him, as shown in the first movie. This was also conveyed in the first game via these hard moments.
This station will leave more of an impact on people after I'm done with you.
No, I can't let that tower hit anyone.
How can you be so These people wouldn't lift a finger.
Yeah, well, since they can't fly or bend steel with their bare hands, I can't really blame them.
You're wasting your talents helping the pathetic worms of this city.
Oh, I get it. You're a disgruntled guidance counselor.
Now, as you just saw, Spider-Man shuts down the Green Goblin instantly and just writes him off with jokes when being offered all of this. Regardless of some statements of goblins being fairly solid, like how some people wouldn't lift a finger to help you to a mere fraction of how much you would help them. whether they have the power to help you or not, which raises the question, why bother? Of course, this topic can be more nuanced as there's exceptions to this mindset, as shown with the people in the train in the movie of Spider-Man 2.
You misguided fool! I've offered you the world and you've thrown it away! Well, I'll cure you of your deluded ideals soon enough!
Save it. You're done.
Whether it be the movie or game, he didn't consider Green Goblin at all. Now, I know I could be reaching slightly as Black Cat and Green Goblin's motivations and character don't line up exactly, given that Black Cat is just a thrill-seeking thief who does a fairly victimless crime like stealing from fat cats when Spidey isn't around, as opposed to Green Goblin, who's pretty much a full-blown terrorist, motivated by his own self-interest revolving around his company, as he goes about his methods of convincing Spider-Man in a more dangerous, life-endangering, condescending, belittling way.
I've been burning bridges all day, but I think I'll just knock this one down!
Those people. I have to stop that bridge from falling.
But I find the similarities to be close enough, as they both want Spider-Man to get away from his responsibilities, and yet Spider-Man considered Black Cat way more. I guess maybe it speaks to softer methods being more likely to work in certain cases, even though I'm more of a Whiplash guy myself. It's just so interesting to see feminine impact work in ways where it does things that men are less likely to convince others of doing themselves. Sure, Spider-Man didn't really cave to either of them, but he definitely listened to that fine figure more. This is just the greatest example of that gender listening double standard I have ever seen in fiction. This of course spills into reality itself now that the games have me thinking about it. People listen to women more in emotional fields at least, such as what I said earlier about them being more likely to break up a fight between two dudes, or various other real life facts of them being heard more, such as their cries and their complaints being heard more, whether they be valid or invalid as they usually are, or the fact that they are more likely to have a higher number of social media followers. Hell, if I gave my scripts to a woman and had her read it instead, my subscriber count would probably quadruple, and I'd get less blowback for my hot takes. If you want another measurement of fact, then just use Google Maps or various other devices that talk to you. You'll notice that it tends to be a female voice more times than not, such as Siri or most GPSs or the voices on most trains and buses, due to the scientific fact that men respond more to a female voice, similar to the other statistics I brought up earlier, of soldiers putting themselves on the line more when a lady is in danger, etc. Sorry for getting this controversial in this Spidey video, but it's quite odd how despite all of those first world spoiled Western feminist tangents about not being heard, they're sort of objectively heard more, despite some exceptions in certain circumstances, like people listening to men more on certain subjects like sports, auto parts, or pro gaming, etc. But man, what a tangent. Back on topic, after Spider-Man took the time to think for himself, we get the final scene where Spider-Man figures out what he wants to do, which basically plays off of the themes of what I've been delving into recently.
Maybe I can balance the two. I should track down Black Cat. I need to have a talk with her.
I was wondering if you were gonna show up.
We need to talk.
Okay. Talk then.
I don't think I can see you anymore.
Hysterical blindness?
What? Oh, nothing like that. I just finally realized something. I'm not like you. I can't live the life that you do. My powers came with a responsibility, and I need the balance of a normal life. Being Spider-Man is who I am, but being just me, that's who I am too.
Let's skip ahead to the part where you ask if we can still be friends.
Can we still be friends?
Spider-Man has moral responsibilities to keep up with, as said before, and Black Cat and Spider-Man aren't really alike in that aspect, as Black Cat sort of tried to inch him away from that, despite the foes they took out together, but as said before, that was sort of just a thrill for her, that she kept up for the sake of having fun with Spider-Man. It wasn't the same thing for her as the job that it is for Spider-Man, in tandem with the fact that Black Cat loves the mask and doesn't really know who Spider-Man truly is, nor has she expressed any interest in that man underneath. If anything, she was literally doing the opposite when she literally told him to ditch the civilian routine. This was also conveyed in a Spider-Man comic where Black Cat didn't like the man under the mask at all when Peter revealed his identity, and then she lost interest in him and told him to put the mask back on, as she regretted knowing. But anyway, this isn't all negative though, because despite Black Cat not fully getting what she wants out of Spider-Man, she at least got Spider-Man to do one of the things she wanted him to do.
Don't sound so dejected. Once I cross your path, I'm not so easy to get rid of. Go. Find your girl. That's what you want to do, right? You finally started listening to me. You're doing what you want.
Thanks, Kat.
See you around.
I can do it. I can balance both. Maybe it isn't too late. Maybe I can be Spider-Man and still be with MJ.
Doing the good, responsible thing and also being with Mary Jane is what Spider-Man wants to do regardless of the difficulties he has to overcome. Inspired by Black Cat, he swings out and confesses how he feels for Mary Jane, similar to the events of the movie, but it also doesn't go well.
Peter.
MJ, there's something I have to tell you. I know I haven't always been there. It feels like I've been going in two directions at once. I just figured everything out though. I know what I want to do, I know who I want to be, and I know who I want to be with. I want to be with you.
Peter. I'm getting married to John. I can't do this. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Peter. Good night.
Something that every man can relate to, but all that matters is that Peter at least said what he felt, despite the sad feeling of it not going well. You can't score all the time.
What was I thinking? I must have looked totally crazy. Things could never work out. What about the danger? I must have been out of my mind to ask her.
Webhead, looking good.
I should just keep away from her. At least she still has Harry.
Along with side missions like Rhino and Mysterio, I've been skipping over the Doc Ock movie events so far to focus on this love triangle, as you should know the great plot of Spider-Man 2 already. The events of the film are interwoven with this game's creative liberties I've been talking about thus far, and we'll head back into it when this love arc comes to an end, similar to the movie. Mary Jane asks Peter to meet at a diner to clear the bad air and to figure everything out, such as her Spider-Man suspicions on Peter being Spider-Man, as the events of the movie would have it. Harry Osborn ended up making a deal with Doc Ock in exchange for the tritium that would power his machine by telling Doc Ock that Peter could find Spider-Man for him since Peter takes his pictures. Doc Ock interrupts this and captures MJ to get Peter to call Spidey for him. And also like the movie, Spider-Man goes out stopping a train that had its brakes damaged by Doc Ock. I'll show this scene just because I like how it's scored, along with minor differences from the movie that are cool, such as Spidey stopping the train with more ease.
I've got to stop this train. Everyone on board will be killed.
I have business with your savior.
Whether it be the movie or game, that scene really embodies the responsible sacrifice that Peter is willing to do with Spider-Man. But anyway, Spidey gets traded to Harry, who doesn't go through with killing Spider-Man due to the same reasons as the movie.
Before I kill you, I want to see who you are. Peter? How can you be Spider-Man? Spider-Man killed my dad. My dad loved you like a son. Like a son.
Harry, we don't have time for this. Octavius has MJ. You have to tell me where he is. I have to save her.
Mary Jane. Octavius. He has a lab that he set up on an abandoned pier. She's probably there.
We'll talk later, Harry. I promise.
Spider-Man goes to save Mary Jane and put an end to Doc Ock's violence caused by the loss of his wife. As said before, you guys know the story of Spider-Man 2, despite some minor differences the game had, like not having Spidey lose his powers for the sake of gameplay staying solid. So I'll just let these clips play out before I end things.
Don't worry, MJ. I'll get you out of here.
None of your cheap theatrics today, cretin. I see Osborn was too weak-stomached to kill you. No matter, I'll take great pleasure in rending you limb from limb myself.
Peter.
Well, well. Parker, you've been sabotaging me all along. You killed my Rosie. I'm going to kill the woman you love, and then I'm going to kill you.
No one else is gonna die. This ends now.
Indeed it does. What have we done? What have I done?
Dr. Octavius, we have to stop that reactor before it's too late.
This is bad.
There's only one thing to do. Get the young lady out. I'm sorry, Peter. You weren't to blame for the accident. My hubris, my vanity cost Rosie her life. Now I must set things right.
Hang on.
Gosh, in tandem with this game still having the best challenging gameplay in a Spider-Man game via that decent reaction time testing, Doc Ock boss fight, and the Sinister 4 boss rush mode that most people don't know about. The story of this game, on the other hand, is even crazier with its deep qualities if you take Doc Ock's Rosie arc into account, but I didn't want to spread the video's subject matter too much more than I already have and then make this video 2 hours. But anyway, what makes the story contribution of Black Cat even crazier when it comes to the ending of this game is that the heroic sacrifice of Spider-Man may be taken even further than the movie, given that Spider-Man was willing to make a move that most of us guys wouldn't be willing to make. He was willing to give up 2 relationships in this ending, Black Cat and Mary Jane, under the context that it wouldn't be true to himself with Black Cat and it wouldn't be fair to Mary Jane. He did that despite not knowing he'd get a happy ending.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you, MJ. I wanted to. I even tried a couple of times, but
I think a part of me always knew.
now you see why I can't be with you. It wouldn't be fair to you. I was selfish to ask you. You should marry John.
Peter.
Come on in. It's open.
Expecting someone?
MJ? You're supposed to be getting married.
I made a decision. This involves both of us, Peter. And you need to trust me to make my own choice. I know who you are. I know the life I'm choosing. And I want to be with you. That's the way it is. Deal. Go get him, Tiger.
Mary Jane, the girl next door, the girl I love, and now the girl waiting for me at the end of the day. Fate handed me amazing powers, and with those powers came a burden of responsibility. Somehow, though, having her with me makes that burden lighter. Still, in the end, it's mine to bear. After all, there's still only one Spider-Man.
Gosh, what an amazing story. I personally cannot see another Spider-Man game being better than this one narratively, or even from a gameplay perspective. It's just too perfect, with very few margins for improvement, other than the scrapped content like Lizard and Kraven that couldn't make it in due to time restraints, or superficial things like graphics. I swear it also has the best soundtrack in a Spidey game too. I swear one won't be able to name something as deep with their Black Cat in another Spider-Man game, or hell, even another piece of Spider-Man media for the most part. Holyfield's voice acting of Black Cat was also top notch, and it even played off of Tobey's voice acting pretty well, as Tobey's more monotone, tired voice really suited how stressed he was at the events that would happen to him in that game's story, despite him cracking a few jokes every now and then, with a less monotone delivery versus Black Cat's consistently fun, energetic delivery, since ladies apparently smile way more than men do in a day, in tandem with her not having as many responsibilities or any at all as she tries to get Spider-Man to have more fun. I know the voice acting of Tobey has been picked on within those games, but I've always seen voice acting as a petty form of mere subjective criticism for the most part, that's often used in substitution for a lack of any actual criticisms they couldn't make in most instances, given that people try to use that to tear down another great Spider-Man game, like Web of Shadows, that most of its harshest critics didn't even play for themselves.
It is I, Resikin, Raimiologist and Tobey Maguire fanboy, certified since 2002, oh yeah. But the reason I'm having this little cameo is because, especially in the build-up to No Way Home, if many of you may recall, tensions between Spider-Man fans actually got pretty high, especially since it wasn't confirmed that any of them would be in the film yet. So there were Tobey fans saying, oh, Andrew shouldn't be in it because he sucks, Tom fans saying it should only be Tom in it because the other two suck, and it was just going back and forth and back and forth. Anyway, this actually extended past the films and into the video games, because everyone's favorite Peter Parker, I guess not everyone's favorite, but most people's favorite Peter Parker, Tobey Maguire, actually happened to be voicing the character in that game. And one of the primary criticisms of the game, which were actually used to also criticize the films, but that's another topic for another time, was that, oh, he's phoning it in, he's monotonous, he doesn't want to be there. And I never really got that impression while playing. I mean, you and I have all seen the clips like, oh no, Dr. Connor's class, I'm gonna be late. But those are like isolated instances. That's why they become memes. It's not like that 90% of the time. So using those kind of instances to judge an entire performance, kind of like using the opening of Web of Shadows to say, oh, Spider-Man sounds like a whiny kid because he's going, where's Cage in the search party? Where half the time, if not 80% of the time, he's not talking like that, is not a good way to determine whether or not someone is phoning it in or whether or not they have a good voice for the character. And for this version of the character, which is directly based on the films, hence it being a movie game, Tobey Maguire was perfect. And the developers of the Raimi movie games even said that Tobey was a joy to work with and that he actually put a lot into developing the game. I mean, not every actor that performs in a movie game returns for the next one. For example, Mary Jane was played by Kirsten Dunst in the first movie game, and then she didn't come back for the second one. She didn't have to, and neither did Tobey. And before any of you say something like, oh, but she didn't even have to be there in the first place, she's Mary Jane, it doesn't matter. Alright then, let's look at the other Spider-Man actor, Andrew Garfield, who also had 2 movie games, which, weren't nearly as good as the Raimi movie games, but aren't necessarily horrible in their own rights. Andrew never came back because he never went to begin with. He just opted out, or he chose not to, or who knows what happened, but Tobey obviously forced his way in, for better or for worse. So to say that he wasn't trying is simply not true. And getting back to Tobey, as a matter of fact, they'd already gotten Josh Keaton to voice the entirety of the Spider-Man movie game in 2002, but Tobey Maguire insisted on doing it, especially since he's a pretty big video game fan. I mean, who wouldn't want to play a character in a video game? That just goes to show that had he been phoning it in or only doing it for the money, especially considering that he was an A-list celebrity at the time, he probably wouldn't have returned for the second and third game, but instead he insisted to his agent that he wanted to do the first, second, and third, and the developers had nothing to say about him except the best. And yeah, he definitely improved from the first to the third game, because it was his first time ever voice acting. I mean, I guess that's not necessarily true, he did play that dog in that one film, but that's a little bit more than you need to know, and I think I might have gone over my time, but yeah, Tobey Maguire is legendary, and if you speak a word against him, I will find you.
You get a web, and you get a web, and you get a web!
Yeah, and with this example in Marvel Rivals, I was just never really super fond of that more spazzy, far less monotone, super joke-heavy voice acting that they started giving Spider-Man more in modern adaptations, starting with Spectacular Spider-Man and only getting worse onwards. Hence me viewing the Raimi movies and the Activision games as the last few pieces of significantly above average Spider-Man media for the most part. It is sad that we didn't get to see more of Raimi Black Cat, whether it be her cancelled appearance in the game of Spider-Man 3 or her second cancelled appearance in the movie of Spider-Man 4, where it would have been interesting to see Raimi cook something as great as the game. I honestly think this is where Black Cat's storytelling peaked in general, despite other adaptations being decent, such as Web of Shadows, where the decisions you make in regards to that version of Black Cat affect the story the most, as it directly changes the ending. But anyway, enough rambling. Overall, the story of this love triangle between Spider-Man, Black Cat, and Mary Jane flexes the psychological impact that women can have on a man's brain for the better or worse, and luckily both of these women still cared for Peter and Spider-Man and weren't a bad modern example that plagues the modern day. Overall, their words, their actions, their minds, their feeling, and their love matters more than anything except one's responsibilities overall. They just have that feminine impact.